I know I'm 3 years late, but I need to talk about this, this,
I'm a big boy house!
and this.
Give me your skin!
Season 1 of the Owl House would be the perfect intro to a D&D campaign. So often I, and a lot of other DMs, fall into the rut of big world-ending plots that take place over the course of 2 days. The Owl House's first season shows that there's a lot of value in thoughtful world building and a gradual escalation of stakes. In order to capitalize on this and create a truly unforgettable campaign, you need to follow just one rule, but we'll get to that later. With this in mind, let's create our own version of an Owl House campaign. Here is... I watched the first season about a week ago, so I'm a real newbie to the fandom, but I have strong and random feelings that don't fit into any of the categories on this video, so here is miscellaneous thought number 1. Every character is so distinct and eye-catching. For example, look at Amity's green hair with brown roots, Ida's golden tooth, or the palisman attached to Principal Bump's head. This is something that you can easily implement into your games. Just note at least one interesting visual detail or voice affectation when first introducing your players to a new character. Okay, goodbye. For now. Okay. Here is a non-exhaustive, incomplete, and potentially inaccurate summary of the Owl House Season 1. Let's go. Luce, a normal human girl, goes through some magical suitcase portal and is transported to the Boiling Isles, a magical land full of witches and demons and the absolute coolest terrain. Luce meets Ida, the owl lady, who takes her under her sometimes literal wings, since she's been cursed by someone mysterious, definitely not her sister, who works for the Emperor's Coven. What is the Emperor's Coven? Excellent question. They rule over the Boiling Isles and have some pretty strict rules on magic, but that's not important. Luce is learning about this new realm and is trying to learn magic from Ida. But Ida is not the best teacher, so Luce attends not Hogwarts, where she makes some friends and some enemies. One main enemy, Amity, more like frenemy, but even more like a love interest. Amity and Luce are so freaking adorable together. So cute. Also, Ida gets captured by her sister, and we find out the evil Emperor dude wants the portal to the human realm. But Luce rescues Ida and stops Emperor Palpatine, which results in her being unable to return back home. Which is sad and all, but I'm mostly here for the Amity-Luce ship anyways. The start of the Owl House is that classic isekai thing, where a character is transported from their world to an unfamiliar one. This trope is played out a lot in media, but I don't think it's used enough in D&D. This makes it so that your players and their characters start out with the same information about the world. As a result, there is no disparity in player, character knowledge, and you can dole out information in a much more natural way. This also means that there is a human or other normal realm, which could lead to some interesting interactions later in the story. Once the players appear in this new place, they can slowly start to learn about the world. Plenty of hijinks could occur as a result of them being new to this place. The first 17 episodes do this well. Luce simply learns about and acclimates to the Boiling Isles. There are no world-ending conflicts, just minor encounters that teach Luce about her new home. She needs time to learn about and grow attached to this world and its characters, or else she wouldn't have cared about the final conflict. With this gradual escalation of stakes, it's also important to hint at bigger conflicts that are to come during the learning about the world phase. Ida's curse, the Titan terrain, and the future conflict with Belos are hinted at throughout the first 17 episodes. It's not till the 18th episode, out of 19, that we really see a shift in tone and have a climax focusing on Emperor Belos. This makes it so that your world feels real and lived in, and it makes your players feel like they are truly a part of this journey, since they get to see everything unfold. Importantly, the actions of your players during this time can and should influence the climactic event. Next up, let's talk about... Of the 58 characters that appear in Season 1, only 14 have one appearance. The Owl House knows how important reoccurring characters are to creating an intimate story and a cohesive world. And you can do something similar for your campaign. This is, of course, heavily reliant on who your players like and choose to interact with, but you can emphasize this by giving important NPCs crucial information, a valuable position in the world, an interesting backstory, or a life that interacts closely with some of the players' characters, like a family member or a coworker. Okay, you may proceed. The Boiling Isles have been created in such a way that nothing appears superficial. It seems like every new location, character, and concept ties into some greater world building. The Boiling Isles are not simply on the remains of a titan, the resources from its body are mined and used for magic. The staff that witches use are not just a way of casting magic, they are living, feeling creatures, and more than that, they are protected by a giant bat queen, who herself is a palisman. All of this creates a world that feels personal, cohesive, and lived in. Consider how your setting can add depth to other aspects of the world. Landscape, cosmology, and gimmicks can domino into some very interesting world building. Maybe your world takes place on a planet that is 90% water. How did the world become flooded? What happened to non-water breathing creatures? How do most people traverse the vast swaths of water? Perhaps your campaign takes place in a video game. Is there a way to gain lives back? Do the NPCs know that they're in a game? What happens if you die in the game? Or maybe you want to riff on Pokemon and include a beast capturing mechanic. Is there a group of people who oppose capturing these beasts? Do the creatures have sentience? Who builds these capturing devices? All of these are worlds that I've run and questions I've answered, so if you want to play in a world like this, feel free to sign up. Link is in the video description. Here's the one very simple rule we've all been waiting for. The key to making a personal, cohesive, and lived-in campaign is to ask yourself questions about your world. Your setting should force you to think about interesting questions, and you should do your best to answer these questions with your world building. This will inform you of your world's history, important locations, characters, and interesting mechanics you might want to implement. It's not that you have to plan out every single event or make every improvised moment have deep ramifications on the greater world. You can simply make these moments impactful by creating callbacks or adding onto pre-existing lore later on. Another important aspect of the Owl House is its humor. I'm no comedian, nor am I qualified to teach people how to be funny, but I do think moments of levity in a game of D&D are incredibly important, especially in a darker campaign. The easiest way that I found to make players laugh is with subversion and ridiculous situations. This is something that the Owl House does really well. Check this out.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Miss Amity. Thank you.
Your pride has destroyed you.
These absolutely killed me, and the reason is mostly because the outcome wasn't expected. Little kids don't have deep voices, bells don't scream, and most children are not usually paraphrasing biblical proverbs. This is not the only type of humor, nor is it the most clever, but it can be quite easy to implement. Another great example of this is from Dimension 20's Fantasy High. The funniest character in all of D&D is Galir Faith.
What I'm going to offer you for dinner tonight is an order of garlic knots that mistakenly came with a pizza I found.
How do you know it was a mistake, Galir?
I checked the receipt on the outside of the box. Things aren't going great for old Galir.
Brennan Lee Mulligan, the humble dungeon master for Dimension 20, notes,
I know why you guys liked Galir so much. It's because he is who he is and has elf voice. I didn't reckon in my head how much you guys were going to enjoy the idea of an elf with that truly elven demeanor really not having a good life.
The typical refined elf is hilariously subverted by making Galir quite pathetic, and it creates such joy for his players and viewers. This is technically easy to implement. Just take what would be expected and do something different. The more different and ridiculous, the more obvious the subversion will be. You'll want to use this sparingly, at the right moment, and in a diverse number of ways, but when done correctly, it can make the silly moments of D&D all the more fun, and the tense moments of D&D all the more serious. The art and animation is so good. This is completely irrelevant to D&D, but I just had to mention it. The animation is always solid, but I love the increased frames, added shadows, and cool camera angles when animating for important scenes. It's even inspired me to start learning how to animate myself. Good luck. Anyways, the magic in this show is also really cool. There are distinct types of magic, a school, spells are cast in a specific way, and magic's existence has a biological explanation for existing, even as flimsy an explanation as it is. This adds depth and consistency to the world. For as significant as magic is to D&D, it so rarely gets any attention or added depth. I don't mean mechanical depth, but simply a wider application to the world, other than hurting people. By implementing a magic system that is even a bit different from the normal one, you welcome a host of other questions. Maybe magic doesn't exist naturally, so people have to drink potions. Maybe magic comes from runes, so wielders have to get tattoos of every spell. Maybe you have to touch some sacred object to get your magic. Maybe we even use a system D&D has in place where players actually need to use material components. Just like for world building, this leads to questions that can add depth to your world. For any of these questions, you can ask yourself, what do these spells look like when cast? What does it look like when someone levels up? What is the origin of magic in this world? Who controls the source of magic? This will help you give purpose, consistency, and a distinct style to your magic, which not every campaign needs, but it can be quite nice if implemented well. If you follow this guide, you should be able to create a campaign that has the same feel as the Owl House. Create an isekai situation, slowly escalate the conflict, and let your setting and magic system add depth to your world. And that's it. that's all we've got. If you want to play in a campaign inspired by the Owl House or any other fun setting, sign up for a free intro session with Dice Party. Thanks for watching, see you next time.